Hi there, thanks for joining me again on Beading 101. Today we're going to talk about different findings. So if you're new to beading and you're wandering around the store or even online and you're looking at all these different things that you can buy, findings are generally metal, and they're the different they're the different things that you need to help put your jewelry together. You know, the beads themselves and the stringing material are one thing, but these are things like clasps and ear wires and jump rings and things like that that you need in order to complete your piece. So we're going to take a little look at some of the stuff that's out there. So you have an idea of what you're looking at. And again, this is not an exhaustive video of all the different types of findings out there, but this gives you a basis to start your collection of what you should be looking at for the basics, and then kind of hopefully a jumping off point for you to then go and explore other types of findings. So let's take a quick look at some of the things out there. So first things are going to be ear wires. These are your basic fishhook ear wires, and you get them in all, you can get them in all the standard colors of, you know, gold based and silver, and there's copper out there. And then when you go online and look at other things, you can get things that are electroplated with really some really fun colors worked in, like everything from like electric blue to hot pink. You can find if you really wanted to get creative with your findings. You can look for things like that. But these are fishhook earrings. You can actually see the shape a little bit better on the gold in this video. But there's all different types of ear wires too. There's others that kind of have a lever back, so they close up around the ear. There's others that that have a little detailing on the front part of the hook. That can really make an earring look really fancy, and they tend to be a little bit more expensive depending on who you're buying from. But again, looking for these are by Bead Landing. These in particular I got at Michael's, and one of the reasons I like going to get findings at Michael's, aside from the price, is that they're labeled as nickel free, and I make jewelry for family that has a nickel allergy. So so it's nice because when I get these, I actually have a box set up specifically for all my nickel free stuff. But I've gotten equally good deals on findings like this going through Fire Mountain Gem. I don't know that they're nickel free, and so they get put into a different bin, but usually when you go for your basic plate hooks that are gold plated or silver plated, you know, you can get a pack of you know, where you get like 60 pairs or something like that, you know, for maybe about $5, which is a really good deal, especially when you're getting started. The other things that you're going to need are eye pins, and you can see, if I bring this a little closer, there's a little loop. The loop is actually at the bottom of the pin. So these are great when you're stringing beads, again, for earrings or to make a drop for a necklace. The eye pins are great because then if you wanted to, you could actually attach another bead or something like that to the end of the eye pin for a little extra dangle. They come in different lengths. This is a 3-inch length. I've bought them as short as 1 inch and as long as 4 inch. And if you ever get interested in doing any sort of wire work, you can easily make your own eye pin. Again, you want to go with 18 gauge wire. 20 or 18 gauge, probably 18 gauge would be sturdier, and you can very easily make your own eye pins at your own length if you wanted to, but it's nice when they come pre-packaged like this, especially as you're just getting started. You can just get your beads, get your findings, and start creating some great jewelry. The counterpart to the eye pins then are head pins, and you can see that their bottom is flat, and this is when you're stringing for dangle earrings, you just want, once you've strung, you want the bead to end right there, and it has a nice flat end that's flush with the bead hole. And again, same lengths, 3 inches. I've seen them in 2 inches actually tend to be standard, but these were nice and long. So 3 inches, I've seen them in 4 inches, and even 1 inch. And again, just like the ear wires, I bought these because I was out of the silver, but you can also get them in the gold plated, and you can find them in copper. A little bit harder to find copper, but it is available. So then you get into jump rings, and these are the things that that allow you to connect things like your ear wire to a eye pin or head pin for a dangle earring. And jump rings come in different sizes, 6 millimeter and 7 millimeter, but you can get them very tiny too. You can get them in 4 millimeters and probably even a little smaller than that. And the size that you use partly depends on the piece you're making and just what looks good. I mean, for a really delicate earring, you wouldn't want something quite as big as this, but if you're using bigger beads, you know, then, you know, or bigger strand necklace, or making a necklace with a lot of strands that you need to attach to a clasp, which we're going to talk about clasps in just a second, then you might want a bigger jump ring. And just like with making the eye pins, you can make your own jump rings if you want. Something I'll talk about in a different video, how to do that, but just know that, you know, you might want to get an assortment of sizes. I tend to like to, I'll buy several packages, each in a different size. You can get packages like this that say assortment, and so they're not just 6 millimeters, but they're assorted sizes. So you can do that too, just to get started and see which sizes you like working with the most. I typically work with 6 millimeter, but I have found, especially since I started making my own jump rings, it's really nice to be able to make smaller sizes if you need. And then the last couple of things that I want to talk about are clasps. And these are for bracelets and necklaces, and there's all different types of clasps. There's the barrel clasp that kind of, you screw them apart. And you can see that either end has a loop, and you're going to take one of your jump rings and something called a crimping bead, which we're going to talk about in just a second, and to attach your wire to either end of the clasp to create your necklace or your bracelet. You also have lobster claw clasps. And then there's other types of clasps out there. There's toggle clasps where one is the loop and one is a bar, and they each have a loop on either end, again, to set up and set up for a jump ring that has your strands attached to the jump ring for your bracelet. So your crimping beads become very important. These are the things that you put you put your beading wire through at the very end when you finished putting all your beads on your wire. You're going to put a crimp bead on your wire, and then you're going to take a jump ring and string that and loop the wire back over the jump ring and loop the end of the wire back through your crimp bead so it looks like there's 2 strands in the crimp bead, and you're going to pull it nice and tight around your jump ring, and then you're going to take a special tool called a crimp tool and then close this little crimp barrel around your cord to secure it. And then with your jump ring in place, that's when you're going to open up your jump ring and attach one of your, well, this is silver, but this is where you get the point. This is where you're going to attach then one of your clasps then to that jump ring. And so that's how these are the findings. Again, they're the connectors. They're the things that finish off your beaded piece. And this is a little bit about how you go about putting them together and why, depending on what kind of jewelry you're doing. You don't really need crimp beads for the most part to do earrings. So if you're just focusing on earrings, you really don't need to invest in crimp beads. But if you start getting into bracelets or necklaces, then you are going to need some crimp beads. And just like with your jump rings, they come in different diameters. If you're doing a really thin strand necklace, you're not going to use a crimp tube that's this wide in diameter. You're going to use something along this size or even smaller than this. But if you start doing things where maybe you make a multi-strand necklace, you know, maybe you've done 3 to 5 strands and you've twisted them together, and so you've got a lot of strands that you've got to pass through, not once but twice through this crimp bead in order to secure it. That's when you're going to want the thicker diameter. But that's why you need these, and that's how they go together with your clasps and your jump rings. Then you have your eye pins, your head pins, and your ear wires. And while you won't always need to have a jump ring, because sometimes you can just loop, because you're always going to finish off an eye pin or head pin strand by looping the top. And that can either connect directly to your ear wire, but sometimes a jump ring adds just a little extra length and helps with the draping of an earring. Sometimes when you do a direct connection between the head pin and the ear wire, things just don't drape and hang the way that they should. And so, you know, a jump ring can actually facilitate that better. So even if you're only doing earrings, I would definitely invest in some jump rings to start and see how you like working with them and how you like the way that your earrings look. You know, and do some with a direct connection and do some with a jump ring. So that's the basics of looking at findings when you're just starting out with jewelry making. I hope you found this video helpful. I wish you a lot of fun with your creative endeavors, and check back on the channel soon. Be sure to check out some of my other videos that look at different types of beading wire, and even a little bit about how to organize your stash of beads, because if you really get into this and start acquiring more stuff, it's very easy for your stash to get out of control. And so check out my other videos.